Hello, everyone. My name is Joshua of Quest. I am here once again with Ward Up, a weekly Collegiate League of Legends show where I keep you up to date with everything Collegiate League of Legends. And also, I have a guest every week. And this week, it is none other than the manager for Maryville University, among other things, Dan Clerkey. How's it going, bro?
Hey, how are you doing?
Not bad. Really glad to have you here. I feel like this has been kind of a long time coming. I've been in the scene with you for a while, but never actually got to do any interviews with you. So I'm really excited about this one.
Yeah, I've seen you at a couple events. I just haven't actually gotten to sit down with you in a show though, so this will be hopefully not the last time, but it's definitely the first time.
Yeah, definitely. I really hope not the last time.
Mhm.
Let's go ahead and get right into it here. You're the manager of Maryville University, but that's not quite everything. You're actually the manager of another team, actually an esports organization, E United, a multi-time champion of various games, and I mean they're spread across various games. Smite being one of the biggest ones lately that you guys won, correct? Back in January, I believe, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Uh,
oh, go
I
on.
was trying to win that tournament for like 2 years, 3 years. That was a big one.
So yeah, and that's the thing too, is that you seem to have, I guess, a formula going on with how you win things because it's been happening a little bit more recently. I mean, you've won a CSL championship, a Riot championship, a Smite championship. I believe you won some. Correct me
Call
if
of Duty.
yeah, I was say yeah, I was gonna say correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Call of Duty as well. I know you're also big in the gear scene as well, but I don't quite know in depth about the scene there. But regardless, you've won championships across various brands, various avenues. What do you have like a formula for any of that? Because you deal with a lot of different people with a lot of different backgrounds. Obviously, Maryville University being collegiate, is there a formula you go with, or is it something more like it just all clicks sometimes?
Well, let's just talk about League of Legends because this is a League of Legends
Sure.
based show. But for example, like if I were to go to build a League of Legends team, I felt like for like the last 2 or 3 years, a lot of talent has been being recycled in professional league as well as in Challenger League. But now we have academies, so we're seeing a lot less of it. But so like my formula of success and it works for every game really is just I like to pick up and coming players and then I like to form a veteran core of like one or two players max. Um, and they kind of guide the young players and it really allows like young hungry players that want to like put all their effort into the game and it's not like they've really never been there, so they're super hungry to get there, and so that means that they're able to expedite their learning extremely fast, and it's a lot easier on a budget too because when I was the owner of Enemy, we really didn't have like outside investment. It was really just me and my co-owner. So that was how we had to survive. We had to pick up and coming stars and turn them into those stars.
And is that something you've essentially done with Maryville University? I guess you kind of say that a lot of collegiate players are like that. Would that be kind of the same thing? I know, like, I mean, UCI, they have like former LCS players, but you guys kind of came out of nowhere. Is that kind of the same mindset there?
Well, for Maryville, it's a little bit different. Within the entire scope of League of Legends, they're up and coming players, but within collegiate, they're probably the best players.
Well, yeah, now, yeah,
Uh,
it's proven now, yeah.
yeah, yes, but on a pure talent level, especially when we had Papa Chow and like the original roster, um, I put the roster together because I thought they were up and down the strongest roster in collegiate. I knew that Andrew, Marco, and John, Cat God Prototype, and Papa Chow were proven talents. I knew how they would perform. Chody and Saskio, though, they were a little bit questionable. But coming in, like I knew that Chody and Tony had a ton of room to grow. They had a really high ceiling, and they kind of got to fill that ceiling last year.
All right. Does the experience outside of collegiate, like like your United or your former enemy time, does that influence the way you handle Maryville University, especially when you're presented with obstacles such as, I mean, the first time you won the CSL championship through Collegiate League of Legends because of denial into Riots League, and then also, I mean, once you got into Riots League, you also went to China, which probably wasn't expected at the very beginning of the whole season. Is that
Yeah.
something that you've been able to handle well because of your outside experience from Collegiate League of Legends?
I actually think it's the opposite way around. I think that Collegiate League of Legends has helped me tackle things in the professional world that I wouldn't have been able to without collegiate. Uh, when you're in Collegiate League of Legends, you have to deal with so a lot of these kids they kind of go through a culture shock when they come to collegiate, especially like the really high level players. They haven't really had to adapt to collegiate life. They haven't. A lot of them haven't lived away from home, so uh, there's a lot of obstacles that you come to face, especially when you add a collegiate workload to their practice schedule. and it's a lot more complex than the professional play, in my opinion, because when you go to the professional play, it's really just wake up, VOD review, play games, eat good meal, go to the gym, repeat. Whereas collegiate, there's just a lot. There's so many more dimensions to it.
And are you the one kind of responsible for that, or as far as Maryville goes, or do they kind of, regulate themselves as far as like balancing schoolwork and their collegiate gaming?
So the first year, I was definitely probably the driving force in that, like the main driving force. Um, a lot of players, I had to teach them how to just like live outside of their homes. As I was basically like a dad. Now that we have Sojin and Box this year and Matt Taylor, um, they've kind of really stepped in and taken over a lot of that. But players come into my office all the time, asking me to take them out for food and like talk to them about their lives and stuff like that. So I definitely still feel like I'm a father figure to them, which is pretty weird. I'm probably the last person that should be a father figure, but I mean it's worked out.
Yeah, I mean, they seem so. I mean, you have quite a reputation in the community, and I want to know, does that reputation actually get you to garner attention? Like, I'm talking more like Sojin, Box, things like that. Were you able to influence them coming on, or did they come to you? How did that process work when you build up your infrastructure in Maryville?
So Maryville began. So the whole reason Maryville started was because of the whole enemy LCS split. If I'm being honest, um, we were really kind of a long shot to make LCS, and we crushed NACS and got in. And then I'd never seen Otter. Like Otter was my AD carry at the time, Brian Bannickhead. I had never seen him so emotional. Like he had been trying to get there for like 4 years, and he finally got there. And then I also got to see the opposite of that 2 or 3 months later when we got relegated, and I hated that. It was the worst feeling ever just to like witness that. So that's really why I started Maryville, was so that people had kind of like a backup plan or like a place that they could kind of lean on. Cat God, one of the original members of the enemy League of Legends roster, he was like the person that I built the program around. So the players came after that. I built the roster from Cat God and then Papa Chow, who I'd worked with in the past as well. And then Sojin came to the players and asked to coach them, and then like they accepted, and then he came to me and he was like, "Can you get me at the school? It'd be easier if it was on site, and I want to pursue school anyways." And we figured it out. And then Box originally came as a Hearthstone player, and he transitioned to a manager for League of Legends. Matthew Taylor, he's actually going to be our Overwatch coach next year, but I decided to hold off on Overwatch this year because of a space issue. So I mean, it's just we kind of it's not super cookie cutter. Like it's not like we have a very set way that we want to do things. We just kind of, if I feel like someone's going to really benefit from school, like more than the average person, then they come and we kind of figure it out once they get here. It's not really like when I'm building a part of the program, I'm not really being like, okay, these 5 people are going to win as a national championship 100%. I'm kind of like sitting there thinking, is school right for this person at this point in their career? How much can it help their ability to convince their family that this is the right career path for them, et cetera, et cetera. Winning is kind of like a secondary thing for Maryville.
So it sounds like you really are a dad. And that is beautiful. so, I mean, we were going to go back up a little bit and talk about how what is right for anybody. So, West Coast Carry, he was on Robert Morris University, played top lane there. He tweeted that he wasn't going to play for them. He tweeted that he may just go ahead and give up Collegiate League of Legends unless something comes his way. He was looking at a few places. I know he tweeted, I think, going back to Washington as well. How did he end up in Maryville University? Now as support, actually.
So that's kind of a weird story. So West actually hit me up after. He was kind of asking me for advice, kind of. He was saying that Robert Morris doesn't really offer scholarships for master's programs. I was like, well, we do. So it just kind of worked out that way. The West came here because, in my opinion, for me, like personally, West came up short for like 3 years. I think it was like 3 years of play where he got second place.
Yeah, two against the University of British Columbia.
So
lost.
So this year we're gonna see if West is gonna be able to redeem himself and lift that trophy. That's like my big goal for this year. I want to get West Coast to the championship. So I mean, obviously he's here for his masters. That's the biggest part of it. But the biggest problem that Maryville had last year was we had a couple inter team conflicts, not like team breaking conflicts, but we wanted to be able to have backup players and roles so that we would be able to kind of slot people in and out, and that's exactly what happened this year. Kevin hasn't been able to play. The West Coast slot into support worked out perfectly. We and Wolfie for Andrew, et cetera, et cetera. So that's basically how the West Coast thing happened.
How influential were you in getting Papa Chow into the academy team? Because I don't know much about any of that environment, but I do know that I mean, he's a really good support player. Obviously, he's a collegiate champion, obviously. But how did you influence? Did you influence him at all getting into the academy team?
Well, I influenced him getting onto E United because he was a substitute for the E United team, and he lived in the house over the summer. So, from there, he made all the connections himself. Our translator, Chris Apoplexia, he was the translator for D&D and GPM. Uh, he was well connected with all the coaches. I'm obviously well connected with all the coaches, but I'm not really going to hand a player a contract for another team. Like, they're going to have to go out there and get it. I can set up a meeting. But John really actually got that whole offer together himself. I'm actually really proud of him for that. He's actually grown so much in the last 2 years since coming to Maryville. It's actually mind blowing. But yeah, like just back to like the point of the question, like if any of my players want to get a tryout for academy, that's super easy for me to set up for them. I can get them that, no problem.
Gotcha. So gonna actually see what your kind of support system you have from the university, Maryville University. I mean, they're what is this? I think this is their third year program now going into it.
Yeah.
How has that been from start to finish? Because you've essentially been there. I know you said it came from well, you started on the whole journey from from enemy going into Maryville, things like that. What about Maryville's response? As a college, have you gotten like the support that you needed, things like that? I know you have an office now. That's pretty cool,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. So we're kind of a weird anomaly in the way the program was formed in the landscape of collegiate esports. So I was already a student in Maryville. I was coming here as a commuter, just trying to get some of my classes done. And I was on the local news about enemy when we made LCS. They saw the coverage and they like were thinking about it. I got onto their website. They congratulated me, but then I was in a meeting with my counselor, who I was asking him. I believe it was because the cost of LCS was a lot higher than we anticipated at enemy, so it was really really hard for us to keep the whole like organization running. So I was basically at a crossroads in my life at that point. I was like, do I continue trying to do this like impossible dream, or do I just scrap it and then like go live a normal life doing traditional business for like MasterCard or somewhere in town? I don't know. And he was like, no, this is super cool what you're doing. We should get you in front of the head of institutional advancement, which is his name's Tom Eschen. So I got to have a sit down with him, and he also thought it was super cool. And the next day I was sitting in the president's office, and the president was like, what do we need to get this at Maryville? And it just kind of grew from that. I basically told them, I need this many scholarships. I'm going to need this much space. I'm going to need this type of internet. And I can bring you, and this is actually like something that he tells everybody. I told him, I was like, if you get me these 3 things, I can guarantee you an undefeated championship. And he was like, and he like laughed it off as a joke. And then our first year when we did CSL,
Yeah.
we didn't play you all. We actually went completely undefeated. So after that, he always tells people, he's like, just give Dan what he needs, because he'll tell you what he'll get out of it, and he keeps his word.
Yeah, man,
So,
that worked out. So that's
yeah.
awesome.
So they've actually been like super incredible. They really care about the players individually. There are counselors on campus that can help them through anything that they need. It's super individualized education here on campus. So it's perfect for esports athletes that have a lot more on their plate, mentally, as well as in term like time constraints on their life, like compared to like normal students.
We're running a little low on time. This might be a little ambitious of a question, but any future plans of maybe sticking around in Maryville and growing the program and just taking ownership of it as like a director?
So I actually just got hired as the director of esports
Oh,
for
well,
Maryville. So
there you
now,
go. Congratulations.
so yeah,
The
so I'm a staff
office.
member. Yeah, I got the office. So I'm gonna be here for a while. I signed a contract that's as long as our school president's. So so I'll be here for a while. But yeah, I mean, There's a lot of plans in the works. We're going to be building an arena on campus in the next couple of years. We're actually planning the floor space for all that. We're planning on getting an Overwatch team for next year. It's gonna be big, but it's kind of one step at a time.
Sure, man. 15 minutes is up, though. Do you have any shout outs or anything else you want to say as closing?
Shout out to Mark Lombardi. Shout out to Tom Ash and everybody at Maryville. Shout out to Kenneth. Shout out to just everybody that's helped make this thing happen, and shout out to you, Fekkas, for having me on your show.
Thank you. You actually, I actually misspelled your name in the header here because you spell your name two different ways. Dan Clerky.
That's exactly why my like community name is Clerky, though, because people already call me Clerky because of my spelling, so it's okay.
Awesome. Yeah, because I know it's a Clark, correct?
Yeah, it's Clark.
Yeah, because I met your dad, and I think he told me that very sternly. Your dad.
Yeah.
I like your dad. Anyways,
very...
thank you so much, man. It's been awesome having you on.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem, man. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too.
All right. So that is, probably got to transition scenes here, don't I? Because that is just showing all sorts of text. But that is Dan Clerky. I am so excited to have him on. It has been a long time coming, but I wish I had more than 15 minutes. Unfortunately, I don't. Maybe another time. Definitely hope that's not the last time. But we do, I should say, we are going to go on to actual news bits now. That would be the first one being a another violation, another banning. It's only a week ban this time, and it's against York Esports. That is the jungler for York Esports. Let me get his name. It's hard to spell or hard to say. It's Gleb Spoderman Nakarikov. His in-game name is Spoderman. He was banned for pretty much flaming. That's essentially what it was. He also intentionally fed in solo queue at one time. And when you're inside collegiate, I mean, same standards as pro players. You know, if you are a bad example on the Rift in solo queue, you are going to be punished because you're a professional athlete at that point. That's exactly the same standard that Riot Tizza holds the collegiate athletes in as well. So, with that being said, yeah, Spoderman, the jungler for York University, he is going to be banned for week 6. That is this coming week, this weekend, which is really huge for them because they are right now at 4-1, and when they lose their starting jungler, that is life or death inside that tournament. They need one win to get to the to advance into the playoffs. One loss will kick them out of it. So this is really huge for them. Coming into the next week, their York University's jungler will be out. He will be somebody else will be subbing in for him, and yeah, that's something that you gotta learn. Like, gotta take responsibility. Not everyone has a dad like Dan, so you guys gotta take responsibility for yourself. Not flame in solo queue. Moving on though, Big Ten update. Top 8, they do advance. The Big Ten are a little bit special, because they have 7 weeks to complete their tournament, their preliminaries, I guess I should say, while the Peach Belt Conference and the normal conferences have 6 weeks. Big Ten does have 7, and there are only 2 undefeated teams left right now. That is my beloved OSU, Ohio State University, as well as University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. They are those both. Actually, I think it's just called University of Illinois, but they are both undefeated right now. The West Conference pretty much is a Wild West right now because there are 3 teams sitting at 3-2 right now, and only the top 8 go. There's 14 teams altogether, 7 in the West, 7 in the East conferences. So they all have to. They're, especially in the West, they're all kind of scrapping around. It looks like Michigan. It says Michigan 2017-2018 team. It looks like they are in good standings. I believe they were 4-1 at the moment. 4-1 or 4-2. I don't remember which, but either way, they are a little bit above the 3-2 record. It would be 4-2. Sorry about that, 4-2, because next week is going to be the last week. But yeah, they are a little bit above that 3-2 standing. So OSU, University of Illinois, it looks like they are going to advance more than likely, unless there's some real, with week 1 games still going on, or the last week going on, there can still be some crazy plays that can happen that create tiebreakers, things like that. But OSU and University of Illinois more likely are going to go on and also Michigan 2017-2018 team more than likely going to advance as well. But I'll keep you updated as we go on next week. Like I said, they still have one more week to play in addition to the other conferences, but I'll keep you updated as much as possible. Going on to Peach Belt, though, this one's actually really easy, cut and dry. They have 6 weeks to play as well, and the top 8 advance from them as well. The thing is, they only have 10 teams in their division, and 2 of them are completely out. That being Georgia Southwestern and University of Carolina at Pembroke. So they are completely out, and that leaves the other 8 teams to advance. And the Peach Belt Conference is already decided. The games are going to be playing this weekend are essentially for seeding. That's pretty much it. That conference, as far as who's going, already advancing, already decided. So that one's pretty easy. You can go check the Battlefy on that and see which teams are advancing, because I'm not going to list all 10 of them here, or 8 of them, I should say. The playoff format, the Peach Belt and the Big Ten, those are going to be similar. Once you get into the playoffs, you'll play to get into the championships. The first and the second team from the Peach Belt Conference and from the Big Ten, respectively, are going to get into possibility of championships. The first place team are actually, I'm sorry. They are the first and second place team are going to be going to the play-ins of championships, and that doesn't guarantee them into the championship brackets, but that gives them a chance to get into the championship brackets. And now the traditional conferences. The first teams of each conference, North, South, East, and West, they will make it into the college championships. The first teams in North, South, East, and West of the traditional conferences, they will be guaranteed into the championships. Now, the second places will go into the play-ins, and it'll be about between the Big Ten, the Peach Belt Conference, and the second place of those conferences. So that'll be exciting. Those are going to be coming up pretty soon. Like I said, there's only 6 weeks. We're on week 6 coming into this weekend, and yeah, it's getting down to the nitty gritty here. A lot of teams have already decided who's going to go. Maryville University, they're in. Columbia College, they're in. UC Irvine, they're in as well. Which actually we'll get to them in just a moment. We'll get to all 3 of those teams in just a moment, but I'm going to go ahead and move on to Team of the Week. That is going to be Maryville University, because obviously I just had Clerky. I also had Columbia College as my team a couple weeks ago, and it's only fitting that I would have Maryville University as a team this week, because they are actually playing each other this weekend. Should be a very exciting game. We'll get to that in a moment on the weekend games, but I do want to give a little bit of overview of Maryville University. I didn't really get to talk about it very much with Dan, because there's so much to talk about with it. The 15 minutes is not enough to talk with Dan about various things. Just Maryville University alone, not to mention anything in E United or Enemy in his history of Egypt, of esports, not Egypt, esports. I really wish I had more than 15 minutes, but that's how it is. So that's what I'm saying. I didn't really get too much into it, but Maryville University, out of the 2 North American colleges, they are one of the ones to go to the International College Championships last year over in China during the summer collegiate break. They joined Toronto University, and that just means that they are an internationally recognized team. I believe they came in 3rd over in the International College Championships, which for colleges around the whole entire world, there was Europe, China, Japan, Korea, United States, well, North America, I should say, sorry, North America. That's pretty freaking awesome. They're one of the top. They're probably the top 3 teams in the world now. That's amazing. We talked about a little bit of Papa Chow, how he went on to academy team. That was Echo Fox. He did go down to Echo Fox. So Papa Chow, being from Maryville University, producing its, from my understanding, their first professional, at least, I guess, post-collegiate player that in Papa Chow going to Echo Fox Academy, and congratulations to him. As well as, Dan did say he's very proud of Papa Chow for gathering all the paperwork, doing the work for him, but not to mention he's also a damn good player and a 2-time champ for a reason. And he also went over to China with him as well, so that was actually really cool to watch. Their current roster, though, is Saskia in the top lane, Chody Walrus in the jungle. That is Cat God in the mid lane, Prototype as ADC, and West Coast Carry replaced Papa Chow after a couple placements. It is right now West Coast Carry, more permanent figure in that bot lane as support, who was the former top lane of Robert Morris University. And I do want to point out for a stat, rather, Saskia, he's actually the 2nd highest in gold per minute in his region, in his conference, that being the North Conference, which top lanes, they do gather a lot of gold. They're typically considered to be on an island. ganked not as much, not as often as bot side because of the lack of objective control in the top lane with the Rift Herald. I mean, a lot of times people want to go get the first turret on the bot side along with Dragon because they can push the turret faster onto the bot side and get help with the Dragon. That's why Saskio, he is again second highest in his conference with gold per minute. So Maryville University, they already have some sort of stat to their record. They have also won 2 championships, the CSL championship that we mentioned earlier. They are also the current and reigning Riot University League of Legends championships champion from last year, which was called University League of Legends. Right now, it's called CLOL, so College League of Legends. So they are vying for that as well. And again, they are standing at 5-0 right now and locked in for the playoffs, and that is why they are my team of the week. And we're going to go on to games I should say not games of the week, games for this coming weekend. That being, so far, as far as I know, I'm actually going to check right now as I speak. We only have 3 games locked in out of a possible 4. We typically do have 4, but as from last I remember, that fourth game, I should say, was kind of up in the air right now, and I believe right now it is pending to be Texas A&M versus University of Texas Dallas. Should be a good one if that does go through, and that will be a big battle in the South. So check that one out. You can also check out our Twitters, and I'll give those out at the end of the show. But the ones that we do have confirmed: Western versus New York. Both teams are 5-0 in their respective in their conference. So seeding is pretty much just the big premise on this game right now, and that's actually going to be a trend in all 3 of the games I'm going to mention from and coming up here. Every team is 5-0 right now. You can be 5-1 and still advance into the playoffs. So every team is going to advance because right now they're all 5-0. One loss will not knock them out of the playoffs. So with that being said, Western and New York, that is on the eastern side of the conference, they are 5-0, both 5-0. We haven't gotten a proper display of the Western power right now. This might be a good display, as again, both of them undefeated. It might be something to watch out for if anybody wants to scout them, thinking that they might go on to the play-ins later on for the championships. University of California Irvine, sorry about that, versus Simon Fraser University. Both of them, again, 5-0, only playing for the seed here, but both teams are very highly regarded. UCI actually had Locktran on, I believe, I think it was week 3, and then he was talking about his team. He's more like a manager at this point, for manager/coach for UCI, University of California Irvine. And they have a very powerful team because a lot of them have the LCS experience. I believe they all have LCS experience, actually. They're all very diverse in, I guess, journeyed in their League of Legends experience. So big confrontation for SFU, which I actually had SFU's coach Butt Raider on for week 2. And SFU, they have a roster very, very similar from last year, who was extremely dominant, beat University of British Columbia last year in a very thrilling game where we saw a huge amount of wave control come into play, which I referenced that game quite a bit. But Simon Fraser University, they're no one to sleep on. UC Irvine, they have their work cut out for them. But again, either team can lose, and it's big for seeding. Seeding is extremely important, obviously, going into playoffs, because once you get to playoffs and you lose, you're out. You want the best seeding possible. So it's not like these games aren't worth anything. They are definitely worth a better spot, a more comfortable position going into the playoffs. So good luck to both of them. And of course, game of the weekend for me, and probably for a lot of people, Maryville University versus Columbia College. There's a small rivalry here. Drake Porter has stated many times that he wants to find a way to defeat Maryville. On Riot stage, he actually did beat them as when he was with Robert Morris University last year in the Midwest Campus Clash in a best of 3. So he has a win against them, but Maryville University, they're the champions. Obviously, Midwest Campus Clash, they have a championship of their own. Drake Porter has it right now, but Maryville University, as far as a more global scale of, or I should say more national scale, not global, national scale of North American collegiate, Maryville Universities are the team to beat right now. Maryville University is the team to beat right now. Of course, both teams 5-0. Again, seeding, very important. More like a champion versus championship, champions versus champion contender in this sort of match. And you can actually go check out a little bit more in depth of the rivalry on our website, cstarleague.com. You can we do have an article up by George Crook. He wrote one giving a little bit more in depth overview of that rivalry. So go check that out. Western versus New York, that'll be happening along on the same day as UC Irvine and Simon Fraser on Saturday the 24th. That is tomorrow. 12. It starts at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and the next match will be 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Western versus New York will be 12 p.m. UC Irvine versus Simon Fraser will be 3 p.m. And then on Sunday, the 25th, Columbia College versus Maryville University will be at that prime time slot at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And again, Texas A&M versus University of Texas Dallas. That's still pending. Check our Twitters. It might be on, but if it is on, it will be at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That is actually it for me today, though. That is a 30-minute show. My name is Joshua Quest. You can follow me, Joshua Fequez Quest, actually. You can follow me at Fequez on Twitter, P-H-E-Q-E-S. And follow, of course, C-Star League at C-Star League. And if you just want collegiate League of Legends material, CSL LOL on Twitter as well. And again, check those for updates on that fourth match. But thank you for joining me. And once again, thank you, Dan. Pleasure having you on. Great talking with you, and hope to get another more than 15 minutes next time. But again, my name is Joshua Fequez Quest. I hope you guys have a great night. Bye-bye.